Hello, everyone. This is a surprise in your feeds. This is a free 45-minute preview of the conversation that Michelle had with Amanda from Little Miss Recap. This is part of the Patreon series of shows that we do, which you can hear in full by subscribing at patreon.com/Blighty Day. And you'll be able to get the whole show and loads more from the whole Blighty Day crew.
Hello, Patreonies! A very warm welcome. Apologies for the sound. It's not the normal smooth studio sound because I'm using the Rode mic. As I mentioned before, sorry, Robbleheads. Poor old Robin is not feeling well, and so he is taking up the space that he needs in the space that makes him happiest, which happens to have all our sound equipment in it. So he's just able to work when he can and rest when he can in there. So thank you to everyone who has sent your well wishes. Alfie now has whatever this is. I don't have it, knock on wood. So I'm guessing it's a weapons grade strain of man flu that my child picked up at his all boys school.
Oh, yeah. Boys are gross. Boys got lots of germs.
Yeah, they sure do. Well, joining me for the Fundy Bus is Amanda Lipnack-Raydell. She's a longtime family member of ours, and she's bravely chosen to wade into the Fundy madness with me. She's also a Sister Wives super fan herself. So, unlike doing this, not knocking doing this with Robin, my husband, but the nice thing about doing this with somebody who knows things is that, if one of us has a question, well, Amanda, you know stuff.
I do.
So,
And in fact, the last episode, I think you even said, oh, I can't remember. Amanda will know.
yeah.
And I did. I don't remember what it was, but I did in fact know. You once deemed me the Sister Wives historian, which is a title that I never thought I'd be so happy to wear. But here we are.
Well, you certainly can have more than one title. I would say your resident Sister Wives Professor Emeritus.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds fancy.
We'll get you a robe.
Oh, can I get one of those like hats that like the puffy
Definitely.
hats? Yes.
Oh, totally.
Never got to go to grad school, but hey, we can get me the academic regalia that is appropriate for Sister Wives. Oh God, do I have to wear like an FLDS dress underneath my robes?
I didn't even know what those were until I can't remember what TV show it was.
Big Love.
That's the one.
Yeah.
How could I forget? See, Robin is actually a huge fan of that show. So he wasn't coming into this like not knowing anything at all about that life, but he's very disappointed that there isn't, some. I told him just because we don't have evidence of racketeering doesn't mean it isn't happening. Yeah.
I really wish, I think the Brown universe would benefit from a Harry Dean Stanton kind of guy, as well as, oh God, what was his son's name? The gay one. Began with an A. It was not Alfie.
Adam?
No.
I know who you mean.
Yeah. Who was on the down low and all that. Like, I think we could benefit from that as well. That would help the Brown universe. Though, as I have said many a time, we have watched dance parties. We have watched graduations. We have watched these idiots move 17 million times. It is finally paying off. The work that we have put in is finally paying off because this season is incredible.
This season is incredible. And granted, I've only been watching this for the past, I think this is my third season watching it all the way through. I've
Okay.
done bits and pieces going into the past. And I think probably most recent, like I've watched the catfishing saga.
Sure.
I watched quite a bit of the first season actually. And one of the things that struck me was how similar Cody was to like the Michael Scott character from The
Yeah.
Office.
A lovable
And
doofus.
yeah, exactly. And so much so. And not even the David Brent character in the British Office, because I think those two are necessarily very distinct and uh unique to their respective environments.
Sure.
Like we all recognize a character type, but I think the reason why The Office has been so successful in spin-offs and syndications and remakes is because it's a universal experience, but those particular personality types present themselves in different ways in different cultures.
Yeah. If you drop Michael Scott into the British version of The Office, he wouldn't be nearly as funny as he is in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
No, and I think people would be extremely polite to him and he wouldn't know that they weren't being friendly.
Right.
That's the typical that's the typical American experience coming here is, wow, everyone here is so friendly, and then you realize, oh god, they're just being polite. No
Right.
one is friendly. Everyone wishes that you would fall down the escalator head first rather than be in a conversation with you. So anyway, with this in mind, I have a little game for you.
Okay. I'm excited.
And it won't take very long. Did Cody Brown say it? Or did Michael Scott say it?
Oh, this is good. This is good because I feel well versed in both of these. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. I haven't like practiced these ahead of time.
Okay.
And some have been paraphrased for the sake of brevity, like I've left out a filler sentence, but they are wholly those quotes.
Okay.
Or words that person spoke. Real men don't dream they are Batman. Men want to be Santa Claus to their children.
That is Michael Scott.
Wrong. That is Cody Brown.
Shit. And the reason I said that is because Cody just did the whole thing, real men want multiple wives thing. He wants to be Batman. Well, when did he say that though? Because I wonder, is this in reaction? Your face is giving me life. Is this in reaction to the catfishing? Because Sam's Twitter moniker was not Batman yet.
Wow. No, I think I got this one from the book.
Okay, then it would be pre-catfishing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But that's it would have been great if that had been post-catfishing.
It would.
Yeah. No, he's not that smart. He's not that witty. Okay, you got another one for me?
I sure do. I knew exactly what to do, but in a much more real sense, I had no idea what to do.
That feels Michael Scott to me.
That is correct.
That feels Michael Scott to me, yeah.
You're 1 for 1.
Okay. At the end of all the episodes that Amy and I do on Little Miss Recap for Sister Wives, she's been doing trivia.
I know.
Yeah, she forgot a trivia question this week, so I won by default. So right now we are 3-1. So, okay, I'm tied here, 1-1. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Often I'd find myself holding a girl's hand. Then I'd look over her and think, why am I holding her hand? I don't really like her.
That's Cody Brown.
Yes, it is.
Talking about holding Christine's hand.
This is another one from the book, actually.
Oh, okay.
The reason, well, I'll speak more on that later. Okay, and there's one more.
Okay, I'm 2 for 1. Okay, let's see.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
That feels Michael Scott.
It is Michael Scott.
Yeah. The challenge is that Michael Scott has such a particular way of speaking. And I think a fair bit of what Michael Scott said actually was stuff that Steve Carell improvised, and he improvises in such a specific way.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had 3 more.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't see that I had done a second page.
Oh,
okay.
All right. This is fun.
So there are 3. Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry, you guys. It's been a long week. If you are what you do, what are you when you don't?
That would be Cody Brown talking about leaving monogamy or leaving polygamy.
Very good. Excellent.
Yes. I love that I can even give you the context of when he says
I know.
This is terrifying. This man is taking up so much fucking rent-free space in my brain. It's embarrassing. I used to be a smart person. I used to be a well-read, worldly person. And
I did too.
I used to be very smart. I don't know what happened.
I used to read books, and now this is what I do. I used to be able to help my child with homework. I knew a couple of historical facts, and now this is what's in my brain.
Yeah, here we are.
I think this one's a bit of a gimme because I had faith in you, but I didn't know that you'd be this good.
Okay.
I hate so much about the things you choose to be.
That's Michael Scott, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And finally, I don't think blogs are safe to read.
I think that's Michael Scott.
That's Cody Brown.
Is it? Okay. And the reason I was thinking that, I just didn't remember anything about blogs that Cody said, but I remember there was the whole thing when Creed wanted to create the blog and like Jim just set him up with a Word doc.
It was Ryan, actually.
Ryan just set him up with a Word doc because he was too afraid of what would go out into the world if Creed did a blog. God, I love The Office. It sucked after Steve Carell left.
It sure did, but guess who watched it anyway?
Oh, Sam.
And I don't normally do that. That might actually be, that and Parks and Rec might be the only 2 shows that I watched after they jumped the shark.
Oh, I've never watched Parks and Rec, which I know I need to do. The one that I did not give up on, and God, I wanted to, was Dexter.
Yeah, I gave up on that one.
Yeah, it was, well, the thing is, I watched it after it was all done. So I knew he became a lumberjack, and I was just like, how do we get here? Like, how do we get here? And we didn't get there well.
I watched the reboot.
Okay, I did not watch the reboot.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was, well, we can talk about that another time.
Yeah. I just love Michael C. Hall.
Oh God, me too. Me too.
David Fisher is one of my all-time favorite characters.
You guys can't see this, but like the life came back into my body in a way that it hasn't in a considerable amount of time.
This is why we're soul sisters right here.
Really and truly, what I love about 6 Feet Under, and this is a safe space. This is Patreonies. You guys are my people. You'll give me the space and the time to talk about this. What I love about 6 Feet Under is I watched it Lauren Ambrose, who played Claire, the youngest sister, and I were the same age when the show came out.
Okay.
So she might be a year or two older than me, but it doesn't matter. She was playing my age.
Right.
So I watched it when it was out on HBO, and I have rewatched it at different points in my life.
Same.
And it feels like watching it through the lens of whichever character I identify with the most.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry.
It holds up while you get yourself together. I will just say it holds up so beautifully. And because I have rewatched it multiple times as well. And it is one of my top 5 favorite shows forever and ever. I think it is the show that nailed the finale like no other show ever has. And I know we always talk about the Mashes and the New Heart. Like there's other great finales, but I feel like nothing can hold a candle to how they ended 6 Feet Under.
No. And my father, may his memory be a blessing, may he rest, thinking of him so much all the time, always said that it was not that this is a deeply profound quote or anything, but I just remember we watched the finale together, for the first time in real time. And we just looked at each other and he held my hand and we sobbed.
Oh yeah. I sobbed and I don't cry at TV. Sobbed.
I do.
Actually, it's funny because I will come back to this really quickly. The other day, we're going to have like a whole 6 Feet Under podcast here. The other day, I had posted a memory of mine on Instagram of a quote from 6 Feet Under, which is one of my favorites. And it's at the very end. It's the last episode. It's a Nate quote because Nate was my guy. Claire, you want to know a secret? I spent my whole life being scared of not being ready, of not being right, of not being who I should be. And where did it get me? And he tells her that right before she's like, I can't go to New York. And he's like, you're fucking going to New York, girl. Well, Ghost Nate is like, you're fucking going to New York.
Ghost Nate, who is really Claire.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Yeah. And that was it. Oh my, okay. This is definitely, if any of you listening, I absolutely refuse to believe that less than half of you are 6 Feet Under fans and would absolutely love to have a discussion about that. Robin and I got asked to go, and no talking about this. All right, everyone, this is, cone of silence. But Robin and I were asked to go guest on another podcast and talk about The Leftovers, which is another one of my favorite shows. And I love The Leftovers. I love Justin Theroux. I love Justin Theroux in Sweatpants. And he was aware
in both shows, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm aware that his, creative history is problematic. It doesn't change anything for me. For Robin, The Leftovers is the best show ever made. For me, 6 Feet Under went in some strange directions, but it's my favorite, probably. Or it switches places regularly with a couple of other shows that I can't remember because I've gone to a place now. But no, I love Michael C. Hall. I have heard as a person, he is both a nightmare to work with and a serial cheater.
Oh, good to know. Great.
But you know what? I think genius comes at a price.
See, here's the thing about it. I never have to work with him, nor will I ever have a romantic relationship with him. So I don't care. It doesn't bother me. So fun fact, a friend of mine was a Dead Guy of the Week on 6 Feet Under.
That's so cool.
He was Dead Guy of the Week in the episode Grinding the Corn. It was the episode where the comic book dork was like climbing up the shelf to get a special comic book and the whole bookshelf fell on him. That was my friend Michael. Amy and I have been talking about doing like just kind of some just rewatches of our favorite shows and talking about them. And I got if we do that one, I got Michael to to agree to come on and talk to us about it.
That is
He's
awesome.
a trip and it would be hilarious.
Oh boy. Wow. 20 minutes in, and
should we talk about some fundies?
Yeah, we should. So I'm not going to lie to you. I sort of dissociated with, with Plathville. I've been dissociating a lot with Plathville, and I don't use that term lightly. It's really hard for me to see a healthy person, particularly a 24-year-old healthy, imperfect, highly flawed person whose brain is not developed yet fully. It's really hard to see some of these relationship dynamics, and this is a full hit job on Olivia, and I hate it.
I hate it too. I know you and I talked about this beforehand. We are both hardcore Olivia stans. You cannot talk me out of it. I feel as convicted about this as, I don't know, something else. But I don't know what that thing is. But I feel very strongly she has been so maligned by this family and treated so poorly. And the way I see her is she is a young woman who is trying her damnedest to heal from a full life of religious trauma, trying to heal from a whole life of misogyny and patriarchy, who married into fucking Kim Plath's family. God bless her. We'll talk about Kim, who's married to, I think Ethan is a kind person probably, but Ethan is so broken and so emotionally unavailable. He cannot give her the relationship he wants. I believe in their love, and I don't think they will make it. And I don't think they will make it for no other reason than neither of them have the skills to make it together.
I agree. I don't think that they have complementary strengths. Like I don't think Ethan is the hopeless dope that we were sold in the beginning. I think that he does understand the value of discretion, and sometimes discretion being the better part of valor. And I think he is able to compartmentalize things, which in some situations can be really healthy and really useful.
Yep.
For example, I mean, not to I feel like dig up is not an appropriate word to use for this scenario, but I think you know where I'm going with this. But if we return to visiting the dead brother's
Joshua's grave,
yeah, I think Olivia made a lot of mistakes around that, and I don't think that she responded to that appropriately, and I was disappointed that it happened the way it did, because I don't think that my loyalties were split there, because I completely understood why she didn't feel that she could be there.
Agreed.
And something that I personally am learning about and trying to figure out how to do as I deprogram from my own religious trauma is that sometimes when I'm setting boundaries, and if any of you are in if any of you are in therapy, please, who do I think I'm talking
who amongst us is not in therapy of some way, shape, or form?
Therapy. Yeah, I think the difficult thing about boundaries, particularly as regards trauma, is when other people have needs, you don't really know where to draw the lines and where to put them. And letting go of a boundary or compromising on a boundary feels like it's too much, and feels like it's too big of a violation almost, right? And I think that's probably how she felt, was if I give an inch, they're going to take a mile, or he's going to take a mile. If
Yeah.
yeah.
I think she would have been much better served to say to Ethan, I love you. I want to support you. I cannot be there with you today. Go be with your family. Do what you need to do, and I will be home waiting for you, or in our hotel or Airbnb,
Mm-hmm.
because they lived in Tampa at the time and this was in Cairo. I will be there to support you. But I think she went there hoping she could get out of the car. I think she went there going, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. And when came to shove, she couldn't. And people are like, she's manipulative, blah, blah, blah. Well, she was 23 fucking years old at the time and dealing with the Plath family, who is, you know, whacked out of their mind for a multitude of reasons. And this
Right.
family has never dealt with the trauma of Joshua's death ever.
Yes. And that kind of leads us into our next, or the next kind of corner of the Plathiverse that I wanted to explore.
Okay.
Um, and I've talked through this with other viewers. It's a sensitive topic, and I just want to, again, it's Patreon. But that doesn't mean that you have to listen to everything, and you might want to skip ahead of this conversation because we're going to talk about the loss of a child. So please just use your best judgment and put your care before anything else, including whatever this is, entertainment,
Yeah.
speculation. So I I have been trying really hard to have compassion for Kim Plath
Hmm.
because I find it very difficult to have compassion for her.
I do as well.
Um, and I'm not saying that I have to have compassion for everybody or anybody for that matter, but there are things that have happened to her,
Hmm.
and I cannot, if anything like that happened to my child, I don't know how I would ever get out of bed in the morning again, ever.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed. It is
and
the
that
worst of the
does,
worst.
right. And that doesn't mean that people shouldn't go on to live their lives. Like, I lost a friend when I guess we were 22, and I stayed friends with her mother for many years after that. Unfortunately, her mother passed away last year. But particularly in the first sort of 5 years after my friend's death, her mother and I were like in regular contact, and we saw
Hmm.
each other a lot. And she managed to get on with life, and she managed to find a way through it. And one of the things that she told me that I never forgot, because my friend has an older sister
Hmm.
as well, and so her mom said to me, "I don't know how the three of us are going to navigate the peaks and valleys of our private griefs."
Mm.
It was in a letter she wrote. She didn't like
Yeah.
go around say, I mean, that's flowery for sort of day-to-day conversation, but
Right, but it's a
it
beautiful sentiment. How do we
right?
the peaks and valleys of it? And I've lost friends too, and grief is this grief is this thing that never goes away. You just learn how to deal around it and just live around it. I think I don't remember who said it recently. It was on one of our podcasts or one of the shows that we watch, that basically someone said, you plant flowers around your grief. The grief doesn't go away. You just make a garden around it. And if folks aren't familiar, we won't go deep into the story, but Kim very accidentally ran over her child and he died, and he was a toddler. And it's the worst thing that there's a reason we don't have a name for parents who lose children. You lose your parents, you're an orphan. You lose a spouse, you're a widow or widower. There's a reason we
Right.
don't have a name for it, because it is the most awful. We can't even name it. It is so bad. And she did this, and the way she talks about it is she basically took to her bed for a year. No shade in that. She took to her bed for a year, disappeared, except she had a bunch of other children. And
Yeah.
and they never got cared for it, and they talk about how they never talked about it, and this whole family needed a ton of grief counseling and a ton of support, and they lived in a world where you just took it to God and God would fix it and all would be well. And I mean, I'm not a woman of faith. I envy people who are people of faith who have that. There are times in my life I would wish that I could give something to God and trust that it would be cared for in whatever way. I just don't believe that. But that was the only tool they had, and it wasn't enough.
No. CF the prayer closet.
Right. Yeah.
And everything else. I mean, it's so clear. And I'm not one of these people that thinks like, oh, there's no, religion is just a crutch and it's the opiate of the masses and blah blah blah. I I think that there are healthy ways that faith can carry people through, or that people,
Agreed.
and it's been scientifically proven, it's been studied that the act of prayer is very powerful, and when
Mhm.
people know that other people are praying for them, it has a positive impact on their health. In many cases there has been, look it up, there's been a lot of
Yep.
research, actual academic research into this. um and it doesn't matter because it's personal to everyone.
Yeah.
The problem is when faith is, I think when God is your punisher and your judge and your savior and your best friend.
Right. And your father and the giver of your life, but also the taker. I I don't understand how people can resolve all of those things. And that might be why I'm not a person of faith, because I cannot resolve all of those things in my own brain. I think it's great people who can. I don't understand that necessarily, and I don't need to. But if you look at well, okay, let's take the proverbial children of the corn out of here, the three little ones, Mercy, Cassia, Cinnamon, Butterscotch, whatever the little ones' names are. They lived a life entirely without Joshua, but they also lived a life entirely under the shadow of a death of a child. But they're still young enough. Like, I can look at how each of these kids are behaving, and by that I mean Hosanna, who just took the hell off. She's out. She is living her fundy life. I think they're in Ohio. She's married, making babies, whatever. We never see her. But we've got Ethan, who has no ability to emotionally manage his life. Then we have Micah, who hightailed his model ass to LA, and I think he's becoming a bigger and bigger dick by the day. And I liked Mike at first, and I do not care for him anymore.
I hate Micah, and
I know you do.
I hate him, and I hate him. I'm sorry, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
And then you have Mariah, and I'm very angry at Mariah right now, but I completely understand why she's making the choices she's making. And what I think it is she and her mother are very much alike.
Hmm.
And all this girl has ever wanted is for her mother to love her and accept her. That is the only thing she's wanted. And I think she thought for a long time, if she was just good enough and special enough, she could help her mother, heal her grief over the loss of Joshua. And she could do all of this for him or for her. And she couldn't, because that, A, no one could do that for you. And B, that is certainly not a child's job to do. Um, And I think that is why she has totally abandoned Olivia and has gone back to her mother, because she sees an in with her mother. And all of us just want to be loved and accepted by our parents. Like, it's the most innate thing that we want. And she's finally getting it. And I think she's thinking if she goes back to Jesus, that'll help her. Um, she is walking around with her crisis hair that's getting worse by the day.
Oh God. Her
And
crisis her crisis hair and her crisis fashion that has gotten so much worse. Like
mhm.
this is a I'm getting into a weird area here, but there's a conspiracy theory. I think I've brought this up before. And if I didn't, apologies. There's a conspiracy theory about something called Project Pegasus, which
Okay.
is supposedly a government project that was organized by DARPA. I forgot what DARPA stands for.
But they're the bad guys. Not the bad
Well,
guys, but
yeah,
they're
I
like
mean,
the dark ops of
I think anyway, so Project Pegasus was supposedly a program where children were chosen to travel back in time and video or film uh, important historical events. Now, there are a couple of holes in this story, as you might imagine, but the one of the alleged participants swears up and down that it happened, that he went to these places. And one of the things that started happening to him was that he would travel back in time and he would pass himself like on the
oh,
stairwell.
okay.
So he would get confused that way. I think for whatever reason, Mariah is time traveling back to like my homecoming shopping in 2001
Yeah.
and going to like Charlotte Russe
Oh,
or
yeah.
Forever 21 or any one of those, and she is like, I have got to have that.
Right, and it's not doing her any favors, and, it was interesting to see in this episode the photos back at Olivia and Ethan's wedding and to see Mariah, um, particularly because it was just what I had suspected all along. She has gotten so, so, so thin that I worry for her health.
Thank you for saying that. And I'm glad we can talk about it. It's not something, as a rule, that's not something that
I don't tend to comment on people's bodies either. It's a super sensitive area for me, but to see how she has changed over time and to see the ways in which her mental health has also shifted over time. Now, I'm not saying at Ethan and Olivia's wedding she was, happy and all that. I have no idea how she was. We never met her then. We met her after that. But
right.
I just there's so much about her that makes me worry for her, and she feels so unmoored. And um apparently that is my new word of the week, unmoored. I've just
No, but
I've described many people that way this week, and she feels really unmoored to me.
it's a
And
very apt description,
yeah.
and what better way to I mean, yeah, I if I wasn't so mad at her, I would find a deeper, more caring well from which to draw that I
Mhm.
could, you know, care about this. But I mean, I remember, and again, trigger warning if you've had food issues or eating disorders, just skip ahead a bit. But I remember when I had a very, very, very bad breakup when I was 19.
Mhm.
And um, this guy was a lot older than me and he had cheated on me. But he was my whole world. And
Yeah.
like most 29-year-olds or 30-year-olds who are dating 19-year-olds, he knew that I would not care about the fact that he was a complete fucking loser with
Right.
with zero prospects and no right to be with somebody as with as much potential as me.
Right.
Um and it was only months later that my that my parents said to me, we were so worried about you after, because he and I were living together. They said we were like about to talk to you about going into hospitalization. Like, you were so thin.
Wow. Yeah.
And I didn't even, it hadn't even occurred to me, but I was probably, if you can even imagine this, I was 40 pounds lighter than I am now and my
Oh, good
same height.
gosh. Wow.
I was skeletal and I
Yeah.
looked old.
Yeah.
And that's the horrible thing about losing weight when you're that young and
Hmm.
you're that tiny and she's much smaller than I am.
She's
She's got bird
tiny.
bones. Yeah,
She's a little wisp of thing.
exactly. Do you remember, like, when I guess it was the beginning of the previous season where we kind of first saw her. It was in her era of Olivia bringing her coffee in the morning and she was
Hmm.
basically not getting out of bed, and then we see her emerge and she's wearing like the leather outfit and you're like, "Oh shit.
Yeah. This was right
What
after her breakup with
happened?"
Max.
Yeah.
And I think some of her like wanting to go back to Jesus is I think she thinks God's somehow punishing her for banging Max or whatever it was that they did. I'm sure they did more than she thinks Jesus would approve of. And I I'm incredibly angry with her because so much of the things that she knows about the world now are because of Olivia and because of the time and energy Olivia put into her.
Yeah.
And
I
to turn her back on her in such an ugly way.
In such an ugly way and such a way that feels like, I know, because I'm seasoned,
Mhm.
that this isn't the end of that relationship or that
No.
friendship.
No.
I know that they will find a way back to each other, because Mo Raya will grow the fuck up. And once she
Mhm.
realizes that, hey, this, you know, outfit, entire, like, unitard made of scratchy wool still doesn't fit me,
Right, yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
still isn't how I want to live my life. I think because Moriah and all of the girls in her family have grown up in a society that or not society, I should say, because they've grown up in a belief system that devalues their experience and their
Mhm.
emotions
Yep.
so much and encourages them so much to to devalue themselves so that they can elevate men and
Yeah.
men's experiences. I think she can't be angry at Max and she's blaming it on Olivia.
Yeah. It's a safer thing to do.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's kind of similar to, I don't know if you've had this experience. I've had it and I've seen it happen where you get the most angry or that you take out the most on the person who is the safest for you.
Yep.
And you do that because you know at the end of the day it'll be okay. And that could very well be what Mariah is doing. She is being a shit to Olivia because she knows Olivia is her person. They were best friends and deeply tied to each other. And Olivia nursed her through that horrible breakup with Max, who he's a piece of shit. He can he can go
Yeah.
pound sand. Um and I'm just I'm sad for all of them. I never particularly cared for her music, I should say, but I'm sad she lost some of those recordings and all of that.
I don't
And
think any of that's true.
I don't know what happened there, but she's telling some sort of sob story to garner sympathy. And I don't know. I am hashtag believe Olivia. If I hear two stories coming out of any people in this family and Olivia tells one, that's the story I'm believing, unless I saw something different.
I think the key I agree completely. I think the key difference between Olivia and Raya and Micah is that Raya and Micah are too stupid to be able to carry on a lie for very long.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't believe the story about, that's why I just don't believe Raya's side of the story. I think if you asked her the right questions, then it would absolutely show up that she just has, that this never happened, or it didn't happen in the way that she said it did. And honestly, I think that's a part of her wanting to return to what's familiar. And how many times have you left a situation or a relationship or a job or whatever and gone, and then you're into a very challenging situation, it doesn't work out, and you think, oh, it was so much easier when I was over there, it was so much better, I'll go back over there and I'll get better, and then I can go out into the world again. And sometimes that does happen. That happened. I spent a year in America between 2014 and 2015, and I got my shit back together and I healed, and it was really good. It was really positive for me. But I could have stayed, and if I stayed, I would have probably repeated the cycle.
Sure.
I had to push myself back out. And I think that is, I mean, the only satisfying thing about the way that things are going in the sort of the core Plath clan is that none of this is going to fucking work.
No.
None of this is going to last.
No.
Because it's going to chafe. Like I said, Raya's not going to be able to reconcile. First of all, she has no idea who she is or what she wants to begin with.
No.
And secondly, the vague ideas that she does have and the desires and everything we've seen up until this point are pointing in the exact opposite direction to the one that she's running to, right? She doesn't want to marry someone like her brother and pop out kids and live in Ohio. No offense, Ohio, but that's not the life she wants.
No, she wants bigger than that. And she's going back. It's something I talk about in a lot of the coaching I've done, is that people tend to go back to what is comfortable. And comfortable doesn't mean it feels good. Comfortable means it feels familiar. So she's feeling, again, unmoored. So she's going back to what feels familiar. And she's 19 or 20 freaking years old. Like, they're all babies. They're all babies. And I can do without watching Barry lift weights ever again.
And that's your lot for free. If you want to listen to the whole show, go over to patreon.com/Blighty Day. Join the Blighty Day Bays on Facebook by searching Blighty Day Bays. Catch us on Instagram at Blighty Day Fiance. See you next week.